Have you ever felt that kind of fear that paralyzes you? The one that creeps silently into your mind, right before you fall asleep? The one that whispers lies in your ear. What if you don't make it? What if they fail you? What if everything goes wrong? Fear is one of the strongest weapons the enemy uses to distract you, to steal your peace, to stop you just before you move forward. It makes you doubt yourself, makes you believe you're alone, that you're not enough, that you won't succeed. It makes you forget the times God already held you, the moments when even in silence, He was there. But today, you're not here by accident. You're here because God wants to tell you something very clear. Do not fear. I am with you. Today is the day I break those chains of fear in your life. Because fear is not your identity. Fear is not your destiny. Fear does not have the final word over you. God does. And when God speaks, fear goes silent. Anxiety retreats. Darkness flees. Because where the presence of God is, there is no room for confusion. Where His voice enters, your soul is restored. Your strength is renewed. He doesn't want you living limited by what scares you. He wants you to walk in faith, in truth, in purpose. Stay with me until the end of this message, because you're not just going to hear a word that shifts your perspective. You're going to experience freedom, not the kind of freedom that doesn't come from human motivation or breathing techniques, but from the very God who created you, who sees you, and who reaches out to you today. This video is no coincidence. It's a divine appointment. A conversation between your tired soul and the God who never stops fighting for you. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and get ready to hear what God wants to say to you today. What is fear, and why does it affect us so deeply? Fear is a powerful emotion. It has the ability to paralyze us, to make us doubt ourselves, even doubt God. And many times, it's not even logical fear. It's that invisible but persistent fear, the one that shows up when everything is silent, when you face the unknown, when you realize you're not in control. But you know what? God never promised we'd live without battles, but He did promise we'd never face them alone. Fear has a root, distrust. When we're afraid, deep down, what's happening is that we're doubting. What if God doesn't protect me? What if this doesn't turn out the way I hoped? What if I'm not enough? And that's where faith steps in. Faith doesn't automatically erase fear. Faith confronts it. Faith says, yes, I'm afraid, but I still trust. Yes, I feel weak, but He is strong. No, I don't have all the answers, but I know who does. Because the Bible doesn't ignore fear. God doesn't say, do not fear, as a cold command. He says it as a comforting embrace, a whisper filled with love that says, do not be afraid, for I am with you. Isaiah 41:10 is one of those promises. That holds the soul together. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Do you feel the tenderness in those words? God doesn't just promise to be near. He promises to help you, to sustain you, to lift you up when you can't go any further. What if fear isn't an enemy, but a sign? Yes, you read that right. Sometimes fear isn't your enemy. It's a signal, a sign that you're about to do something that requires faith. Sign that you're walking the path that pushes you out of your comfort zone. And that's where you grow. We don't grow in comfort. We grow when, despite fear, we take steps in obedience. We grow when we dare to say, Lord, I don't understand, but I'll follow you. Lord, I'm afraid, but I trust you. Lord, I feel like I can't, but if you're with me, I'll keep going. Part 3. God has defeated your fear before, and He'll do it again. When you think about the great characters in the Bible, what do you imagine? Fearless warriors? Men and women who never doubted. Invincible heroes? Well, no doubt many of the faith heroes we admire felt fear too. And that's exactly what makes them so relatable, and what allows God's power to shine through their weakness. Take Moses. For example, God speaks to him from a burning bush and gives him a huge mission to free an entire nation from slavery. And how does Moses respond? Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? Exodus 3:11. Moses was afraid. He felt unqualified. He doubted himself. God wasn't looking for perfection. He was looking for a willing heart. And it was that same Moses, afraid, stuttering, unsure, who ended up leading the people through the sea with God's hand working powerfully. And what about Gideon? God says to him, "Go in the strength you have. Am I not the one who is sending you?" But Gideon was also afraid. He was hiding. He didn't see himself as strong enough. God used him to defeat entire armies with only 300 men. Do you see the pattern? Fear didn't stop God, and it won't stop him in your life either. Jesus faced fear too. And if you still doubt how much God understands your struggle, remember this. Jesus also experienced fear. In Gethsemane, the night before he was betrayed, Jesus prayed in such anguish that he sweat drops of blood. And he said, "Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me." Jesus was in deep sorrow. He felt fear, anticipated pain, anguish. But his next words changed history forever. "Yet not my will, but yours be done." That's the heart of faith. That it's not the absence of fear. It's surrender in the midst of fear. When you give your fear to God, when you trust him even without understanding, when you choose to obey, even while trembling, then fear loses its power. Because fear no longer leads. Faith does. Asterisk, asterisk, how to overcome fear with God every day. We've already talked about how real fear is, how it can paralyze you, confuse you, make you doubt yourself. But we've also seen how God has freed his children again and again, how he acts even in the midst of fear, and how even Jesus experienced human anguish. So now comes the big question. What can you do today to overcome fear with God? This isn't about magic formulas or repeating empty phrases. It's about simple, practical steps, deeply powerful if done with sincerity. 1. Name your fear before God. Many of us live with silent fear. We know it's there. We feel it. But we don't face it or talk about it, not even with God. But do you know what happens when you name your fear in prayer? You bring it into the light. You take away the power it holds in the dark. You place it in the hands of the only one who can truly handle it. It doesn't matter if it's fear of failure, rejection, lack, loss, or not being enough. Say it with your words. You can pray like this. Lord, I'm afraid. Afraid of what's coming. Afraid of failing. Afraid of disappointing you. But I don't want to carry this anymore. I give it to you. Strengthen me. Guide me. Help me. 2. Feed your faith more than your fear. Have you noticed how much content we consume that fuels fear? Alarming news. Social media full of chaos. Negative conversations. Worries playing in your mind again and again. All that only feeds the fire of fear. That's why it's so important to fill your mind with what builds you up. With the Word of God. With promises that remind you who you are and who you trust. With songs that minister to your soul. With messages that draw you closer to truth. Romans 10:17 says, faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of Christ. What you hear, what you see, what you repeat shapes your faith. So do it intentionally. Fill your days with light. With hope, with truth. 3. Remember what God has already done. Fear often makes us forget. Forget how far you've already come. Forget how many times God has rescued you. Forget how you made it through things that once seemed impossible. But faith is strengthened by memory. Try this simple yet powerful exercise. Remember what God has already done for you. Do you remember that time? You had no idea how you'd move forward. And you did? That door that opened when everything else was shut? That word that brought peace when you needed it most? That wasn't luck. That was God. And if he did it before, he'll do it again, because he doesn't change. His faithfulness has no expiration date. His love doesn't depend on your strength. It depends on his promise. 4. Surround yourself with faith. Not fear. Some fears rise from within, but others come from what surrounds you. People who always expect the worst. Toxic environments, harsh words, advice without faith. And even though you can't always change your surroundings, you can choose how much you let them influence you. Surround yourself with people who remind you that God is with you, who pray with you, who lift you up when you feel like falling. Faith is contagious too, and sometimes one word spoken with conviction can spark hope deep inside you. 5. Do it afraid, but do it with God. Yes, it may sound strange, right? But listen, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's taking action in the midst of it. It's when your voice shakes, but you speak anyway, when you don't know how things will turn out, but you still take the step, when your heart is racing, but you choose to trust. And you don't do it in your own strength. You do it with God. And that makes all the difference. Psalm 56:3 says, "When I am afraid, I put my trust in you." It doesn't say, "when I'm no longer afraid," but "when I am afraid." That means feeling fear isn't failure. It's part of the journey. But if every time fear shows up you choose to trust, you're walking in faith. And that kind of faith moves mountains. When fear becomes a stage for God's glory. What if I told you that your fear, that same fear you hate so much, can become the very place where you most clearly see God's power? No, it's not an exaggeration. The Bible is full of examples of how God doesn't just act despite fear, but often acts right in the middle of it. Take Moses, for example. Trembling, stuttering, full of insecurities, and yet God calls him to lead an entire people out of slavery. And when he's standing in front of the Red Sea with Pharaoh's army behind him, it single quotes, in that very moment of greatest fear, that God parts the sea and reveals his glory. Or think of Daniel, thrown into a den, full of hungry lions. Was he afraid? Of course. But it was right there that God shut the mouths of the lions and showed that he protects those who trust in him. Or the story of Gideon, a man who saw himself as the least of all, yet God used him to defeat an army with only 300 men. Gideon was afraid. He asked for signs, but God didn't reject him. God used him anyway. Do you see the pattern? God doesn't look for fearless heroes. He looks for hearts willing to trust, even while trembling. Fear is not the end. It's the setting for the miracle. Sometimes we think that feeling fear means we're failing spiritually, as if we always had to be strong, confident, doubt-free, and fearless. But that's not true. God isn't shocked by your fears. He doesn't love you any less because you're afraid. He doesn't distance himself when your faith is weak. Quite the opposite. It's in those moments that he is closest. Psalm 34:4 says, "I sought the Lord, and he answered me. He delivered me from all my fears." It doesn't say, "He delivered me from all my problems," but from all my fears. Because often, the greatest miracle isn't that the situation changes. It's that you change on the inside, that fear no longer controls you, that you learn to walk in trust, even when you can't see the way. That's a deeper level of faith. When you get to that place, nothing can stop you, because you know you're not walking alone, because you realize fear no longer gets the final word. God does. God is training you. Not punishing you. Many believe that feeling fear is a sign of punishment or weakness. But in reality, you might actually be in training. God doesn't always take you out of the situation. Sometimes He strengthens you in it. He trains you. He teaches you to depend on Him. He shapes you from the inside out. It's like the eagle that pushes its young out of the nest, not to harm them, but to teach them they can fly. And if they fall, the eagle dives down to catch them with its wings. That's how God is with you. He allows you to feel the fear of the unknown, but He doesn't let you fall. He's there, holding you, training you for something greater. Today is the day fear loses its power. Today is the moment to make a decision, not to eliminate fear forever, but to no longer let it rule your life. Not to deny what you feel, but to trust in the middle of what you feel. Today is the day you say, yes, I'm afraid, but I trust. Yes, I don't have all the answers, but I believe God does. Yes, the future is uncertain, but I know the one who holds it. And by doing that, you're taking the most powerful step you can take. You are overcoming, not with human strength, not with fake courage, but with faith. That faith moves God's heart. That faith sets you free. That faith transforms you. That faith lifts you up. Faith is greater than your fear. I want you to hold this close to your heart. God is not asking for perfection. He's not demanding that you never feel fear. What He desires is something far deeper. Your trust, your surrender, your heart. He already knows what you feel. He's already seen your inner battles. He knows the nights when fear kept you from sleeping. The moments you cried silently, the decisions you delayed because of fear. The steps you didn't take because you thought you couldn't. And even so, He still believes in you. He's still reaching out His hand. He's still whispering in your ear, do not fear. I am with you. You are not alone. Not even for a second, maybe. No one else understands. Maybe others tell you you're overreacting, that it's all in your head, that you should have gotten over it by now. But God doesn't speak to you with judgment. He speaks to you with tenderness. He doesn't mock your fears. He embraces them, and He says, come, walk with me. I will be your strength. Because your fear might be real, but God's presence beside you is even more real. And when you understand that, when you make it yours, when you truly believe it, fear no longer controls you. Anxiety no longer defines you. Fear no longer has the final word. God does. This isn't the end. It's just the beginning. If this message touched your heart today, if you felt like God spoke to you, even just a little, then it wasn't a coincidence that you made it here. It was a divine encounter. A meeting between your weary heart and the loving heart of God. And now, with everything you've heard, there's something you can do. Something small, but powerful. Give this video a like. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Turn on the bell to receive future messages. And share this video with someone who needs to hear that God can set them free from fear, because you never know. That simple action of yours might be the spark that ignites faith in someone else's heart. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting us walk with you today. Thank you for listening until the end. But most of all, thank you for seeking God, because when you take one step toward Him, He runs toward you. ***. Remember, it's not about never feeling fear. It's about not letting fear make your decisions. It's not about having all the answers. It's about trusting the one who does. It's not about being strong all the time. It's about leaning on God's strength. We'll see you in the next video. A new message filled with hope, faith, and purpose. But for now, I wish you a day filled with peace, a mind filled with calm, and a heart filled with the presence of God. May He bless you today, tomorrow, and always. And every time fear tries to return, remember, God sets you free from fear today.